Yeah, so talking about the way ancient texts were transmitted, Judaism is unique because it was the first time, as far as I know, that this kind of information was released to the populace. Can you explain the significance of that and how that compares to what the ancients were doing?
Okay, all right. We are the people of the book, right?
Right.
It's kind of a phrase that's thrown out there, but let me give one insight as to what that might mean. Okay, um, um, this is going to be hard to believe, but we Jews did not invent writing. Writing came before there were Jews in this world. You know, Mesopotamian. You know, maybe you've seen Kavya Tedot. You know, there's cuneiform. You know, all these wedges and things. Certainly, you've seen hieroglyphics. You know, this. You know, all sorts of things like that. Okay, these are very ancient systems of writing. And they're extremely difficult to learn. And very few people knew how to read and write. And anybody that knew how to read and write, it was because they were trained by kings and by the priests in order to serve the kings and the priests. Nobody else knew how to read and write. Okay? And then somewhere around the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim, some scribes north of here discovered, hey, you know, we can take a phoneme like and a grapheme like that looks like an M, and connect the two. And now every time we see something that looks like an M, we'll go, and they figured out, you know, you can get away with as little as 22 or 24 of these. And now you can reproduce speech very simply and quickly with what we call the alphabet. And, you know, you can teach a 5-year-old the alphabet in 5 minutes. Basically about 5 minutes, most of the alphabet. And so they discovered the alphabetic text. But now here's the big thing. Even though the alphabetic text made things much, much simpler, it didn't necessarily mean that now everybody would know how to read and write, because the priests and kings wanted to hold this power close to their chest, because they understood if people know how to read and write, they can exchange ideas, they can, you know, rebel, they can amass ideas and people around them. And so the alphabet was not widely taught, and compositions written in other cultures were not disseminated to the masses. In order for a technology of communication to be widely used in the public, there has to be a culture that is ready to empower the common individual. Let me give a more modern example of what I mean. The printing press. Okay, the printing press, invented in the middle of the 15th century. The printing press was known all over the world, the civilized world at that time. Okay, it was known in Eastern Europe, it was known in Western Europe, and it was also known in Muslim countries. In Western Europe, which was undergoing the Reformation at that time, the idea that everybody can be their own priest, everybody should have a connection with God, everybody should be able to study the Bible on their own. Wow, the printing press took off, because the Reformation was all about empowering the common person. And in Eastern Europe, they were like, teach the people how to read the Bible. What are they going to understand? They're not going to understand anything. They should just look up at their stained glass windows in the churches and they'll know what they need to do. But we can't give this power to the masses. And in the Muslim world, it was a sin. It was a sin to use the printing press, because they understood that this would take power away from the sheikhs and the imams. And so you can have a technology of communication, but unless there is a culture that is ready to say, yes, we want to teach the common person how to read and write, it won't work. And it was the same thing with the alphabet, Bimei Kedem, way back when. Other cultures, Mesopotamia and Egypt and other cultures, Ugarit, other places that are smaller, that are nearby, knew the alphabetic text, but never used it to compose texts to disseminate to the masses, and never taught literacy to anyone. The first culture in world history that creates written texts for the purpose of dissemination to the people is the Jewish people with the Torah.
I think Rabbi Sachs actually understands the term Mamlechet Kohanim V'Goy Kadosh in this manner, that we're a nation of priests, meaning a nation that embraces learning instead of just the higher ups.